I buy faulty electronic items on eBay, attempt to fix them and sell them for a profit. The overall target for the series is £1,000. Currently, we sit on £879.08. This means that we're getting dangerously close again to finishing the season. Can we do that in today's video with a nice little profit? Welcome your faces back to episode number 103 of the series Profit or Loss. What you got for us today, Joey? I'm excited for this one. You rarely see these on the channel. This is a Nintendo Switch OLED edition console, and I paid a grand total, you ready, of £50 for this console, which is really good. Usually I'd pay around £50 for a normal Nintendo Switch, so the fact I've got an OLED for that price is wicked. Now, one thing that I don't think was actually mentioned on the listing, but it is what it is. We do have, can you see just down here, I'm trying to get the light in just right for you, but we have a crack in the screen. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the issue with this because it's faulty no power, but it is unfortunate that we do have this big massive crack on the OLED. However, recently I tried fixing an OLED Switch, but it was really badly water damaged, but the screen itself was in really good condition, so I do have a housing for a Switch OLED. Let's walk and not run with this. I need to fix the no power first, so let's take a look. I think first things first, as always, let's check the status of this charging port. How are we looking? Really clean, suspiciously clean, may I add. Doesn't look like it's been changed. How do the screws look? Screws look really intact. I don't think anybody's been in this device, but I've been wrong on so many occasions, haven't I? Let's plug it in and see what happens. Please, no 470 milliamps. Please. Here we go. This thing is an ammeter. It's going to tell me relatively what's wrong with the device. 0.03, 0.04. That's not really enough for anything. Could be perhaps that the battery's just gone bad with this device. If I go to press the on button, camera's just decided to go out of focus. So there's still nothing on the screen here. It's just bumped up to 0.08. Let me push it again. No, nothing's happening when I go to push the power button. This is a little bit of a strange reading. Let's get this one taken apart. Before we do that, a huge shout out to today's video sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is your website for DIY. Get an instant quote on your PCBs at a low cost with fast delivery. New customers will also get a $5 welcome bonus. Fully customize your PCB with a few clicks, including the thickness of the board to the color of the solder mask. PCBWay also offers services in CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, and also injection molding. Head on over to the gift store and grab yourself a multimeter or a soldering iron. PCBWay has it all. Thank you to PCBWay for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the repair. I can confirm it does not look like this has been opened before. Looks in really good condition. Things you love to see. I am just going to see now what voltage the battery is at to see if it is completely drained. I mean, that is very low, 2.6. That's very low. I'm wondering if it is simply just the screen that's gone bad on this device. I'm going to transplant it into another housing that I have that has a different battery, and then we're going to see what happens. This battery might be okay, but obviously the OLED itself, the screen, the display on this has gone bust. So let's do that. Okay, here we go. Moment of truth. Is this going to be a very simple fix? And we just had to take it from one chassis to another that I had and would have written off in another profit or loss episode. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Was it just a broken screen? 340. That's good. 470. Oh my gosh. It was. It's going to turn on, yeah? It's restarted. Here we go. There it is. Wow. Good job we checked the simple things first, hey? I mean, this is on 51%. We have got parental controls, but we can take care of that. Wow, and this screen looks beautiful. This one is so much better than the other Switch, hey? It looks gorgeous. Well, I'll still need to go through and test everything. That in its own is going to be a major profit. Could this be the end of Season 1? I'm actually a little bit scared now and upset. This could be it. Let me test this. I'll confirm that it's all good, and then we'll move on to another item. Lord above. Also, the good thing about the OLEDs is that the serial number is actually on the back housing, just under this flap here. So that basically means all I have to do is take the housing that came with this Switch that I've opened today and stick it on here, and we've transferred over, technically, the serial number. I've put the console back together. I've tested everything. Works on a docking station. The games work, the Wi-Fi, the Joy-Cons, etc., etc. So that console is good to go. Let's move on to item number 2 for this video. I paid another £50 for this Nintendo Switch original console this time. Not an OLED, unfortunately. But still, again, not bad for £50. I would go and say that the market for the Nintendo Switches at the moment has been dropping from a seller's perspective. I shouldn't have paid £50 for this. I think they're starting to max out at around £45, £40 if I'm honest. The sell prices of recent have been about £90, £85. What's wrong with this one? Well, it doesn't turn on. That's a start. Condition-wise, seems to be in okay condition. We have the back stand. We do have a little bit of discoloration on the screws. Hopefully that's not an indication of water damage. Let's take a look under the scope. Okay, very clean. Again, suspiciously clean. Do we have potentially another screen damage? That would be amazing because I have a lot of donors for the original Switches. That maybe it has been opened before. I'm not too sure. See what we get with our ammeter first. I did take out the first 2 screws and then swiftly remembered. 0.07, 0.10. Oh, okay. All right. Well, the universe is on my side today, I guess. That seems to be taking a charge. Seems to be all right. Battery symbol indicator in the top left should show that the battery is in fact taking a charge. We have 120 milliamp draw right here, so it just means that the battery is relatively low. The actual listing states that it's 3 faulty Nintendo Switches. Yes, I paid £150 for all 3 of them. All have no power or signs of life. No returns due to being faulty. So apparently it has no power or signs of life. I don't know if they had a dodgy charger or something, but I mean, quite clearly looking at this so far, it is, by the looks of it, charging. So I'll leave it in charge. I'll see what happens. Hopefully it turns on and maybe I can diagnose it a little bit more. Potentially the digitizer doesn't work, or we have an issue with the Joy-Con rails, or it doesn't dock, for example. It could be anything. I need to make sure I give this one a full test. Interestingly enough, it's just turned off. I mean, it's still charging 470 milliamps, as you can see when it loads up, 370, 470, but the screen no longer doesn't turn on. It just turned on. I turn away for 1 second, I look back, and it hasn't got the charging symbol anymore, so I don't know what's happened. I really hope I'm wrong. I think it might be water damage, which is what's causing this to intermittently display / work. The only way I'm going to be able to tell that is by taking it apart and seeing what's going on inside. It has been gone into, and the reason being is because this screw here is stripped. So let's just take that out, and I'm actually going to bin that screw because we don't like stripped screws around here, unless somebody has just tried changing the SD card reader perhaps. But I have also just noticed when I was taking this apart that it doesn't have a serial number, so Lord only knows why. Am I going to see maybe an attempted failed mod chip or something along those lines with this device? I mean, it doesn't look like it's been gone into any further, because unless they've taken off the felt really, really carefully, and I'm none the wiser, the water damage indicator seems to be okay as well. So why all of a sudden would this just stop charging? We do have our little, I think they're called diode arrays or something, above the charging port, which is on the first revisions of the console. This is a HAC CPU 10. They have been known to cause issues in the past. I've had a few of those. I don't know why taking the back off would have made a difference, but let's just see what happens. 360. 480, nothing on the screen. Maybe those little components down here are stopping it from booting perhaps. When I just put the charger in then, I could see the backlight. So if we look down here, I wonder if we can see the backlight when I push this in. Ready? Can we see a backlight? No, I did just see a backlight though. So Lord only knows what's going on. We've got a temperamental issue here. Let me disconnect the battery, plug the battery back in, and then try. Do we get something sharp now? Yeah, we do. So disconnecting the battery is doing something here, but we're not getting a boot. Grab our multimeter and just make sure that it's actually taking a charge. Could it just be a bad battery perhaps? It is taking a charge, albeit quite slow. We can quickly confirm this by plugging in another battery that I've got and seeing if the device boots. Is it a bad battery? Let's see. 370, 480. We get a green light. Does it turn on? Does this turn off? That's what we're looking for. No, so it's not restarting and going into that second phase boot, essentially. I don't know if that's what it's called. I could be completely wrong, but it does the same with a different battery as well. Okay, so we definitely have a board fault. Could potentially be BQ as well, perhaps, or even a fuel gauge. Honestly, my other worry with this is some sort of eMMC memory error, which is why it's not booting. The fact that somebody's removed the serial number screams alarm bells in my head that they've tried to do something to this Nintendo Switch like mod it. So yeah, I'm not too sure. I've had a brief look around the board with a multimeter and I can't find any shorts anywhere. Areas checked have been M92T36. We've looked around the BQ area, max IC, etc, etc. I believe it's going to be this little diode array thing here and also this one on the back. This is just a hunch, but I'm going to take them both off and see if that makes a difference. The Switch can in fact function without these, and in later models, they weren't put on the board. They weren't populated because I think they caused a lot more issues than what they fixed. So let's take that one off. Could be just one of them causing our faults, but let's just get rid of both. Save the other one from going bad. I'll put it back in the chassis and see if that's fixed our issue. I think we try with our known good, well, I say known good working battery. I know that it's just got a suffice amount of charge for the Nintendo Switch to actually turn on. So let's try that because the other one might need quite a bit more charging. Here we go. Has that made a difference? 3, 2, 1. What a fix this will be if it has. Turn it around, sorry. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. 370, 480. We get something on the screen. Does this restart? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so maybe it wasn't those. So what's preventing this from starting? Now, I'm pretty sure the fuel gauge is responsible for reporting the percentage of the battery. But I don't know if you noticed, when I plug this battery in and attempt to turn it on, you'll see that it's green, which to me indicates that obviously the other battery is more full. If I go ahead right now and put the original battery in, you'll see that when we go to power it on, it comes up with a slightly duller battery, which symbolizes that it's pretty dead. You see we've got the red. And that would tell me that the fuel gauge is doing its job by reporting the battery percentage. Do you see what I'm saying? I've actually measured all the way around the M92T36 in diode mode, and it all looks absolutely fine. As the same with BQ. Our issue generates itself after that first initial boot, so it could still be one of these chips. And I'm going to be that annoying person that probably just changes them out without any real explanation as to why. Our fuel gauge, which is located down here, looks to be all right. No explosion around the IC, no markings on it from what I can tell. But that doesn't mean that there's not something wrong with it internally. I'm just checking around the backlight circuit as well. We have a cap there that looks a bit discoloured, hey? Just here. Looks like a bit of an orange tint to it. Measures okay. A little bit of what looks to be dried flux here. Did this component get very hot? Oh, checking around the max IC, that seems quite low, relatively low. And maybe just a little bit all over the place. 100 ohms here as well. Let's just check in diode mode what we got on these caps. I don't like how it's climbing. 0.52, 5.6 there, 2.5 there, 0.4 there, 0.3 there. Measured pretty much everywhere around the fuel gauge, and again, it seems to be all right. Yeah, I can't apply any logic to this. So M92T36, you come in with me. Going to change it out and see if that changes anything. Temperature is 420 degrees Celsius, airflow speed, nice 50%. Let's take this off, should take 2 seconds. There it goes. Replace it with another M92T36. Try and get it centered. There we go. Drop a flux. There we go. Nice clean up. And we'll give it a test. Definitely all nice and soldered on. Yep, all good. Okay. Let's see what happens. Has that made any difference whatsoever? I've just put the loosey-goosey bits back, including backlight, etc. What happens? Okay, we get something on the screen. Does it attempt to turn on at least? Well, that's just disappeared. It doesn't look like it's trying to turn on. And if it were still trying to charge, what it would do is exactly that. Still have the charging icon just here, and it's not doing that. So I feel like we've got the exact same issue. I then went on an absolute measuring spree, from measuring resistance, diode mode, DC voltage in some areas, just to see if I could spot anything that could be potentially causing our issue. This whole process took me around about 30 minutes. I've been up to all sorts with this Nintendo Switch, trying pretty much everything you can imagine. I have done this, so I'm entering the first and second stage boot phase on this. The first phase was to put it onto this coil here. I'd done that. I checked for all of our voltage rails around the magical max IC on the back just here, and I've checked in diode mode. Everything around here looks okay, but this is apparently quite a common failure if you can't boot to that second stage. So then what I've done is I went to do the second boot, which is why this wire is now here, and I've put a 10k ohm resistor here to bypass the battery, which is recommended. By the way, I'm not going to try and explain all of this because I can't. I'm very dumb. But shout out to Retro6 Wiki, because this is where I'm getting all of this information from. Really trying to do my best to work out what's going on with this Nintendo Switch. Now, essentially, this is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what it is that I've done. Diagnostics power draws. So as we can see, I've got the little resistor that we've got here, and I've got a wire going here and a wire going here to ground. I've cheated a little bit. Instead of using tweezers to turn on the switch, I just put my power button here. So yeah, I'm using that. And then what we've got, which is amazing, incredible work that they've put this on the website, is a boot sequence and kind of what it replicates, very much exactly like we do on the PS5. A fully working boot is 500 to 800 milliamp hours, and then we've got a bunch of other stuff here that it could potentially be. I'm going to show you the boot on my phone, and then we can all come to an agreement as to what it is that it might be. So here we've got 4.2 volts and 2 amps. Apparently the first stage only requires an amp. The second stage it goes a little bit higher than that. You go to push the power button. There we go. I'm going to push the on button on the Switch in 3, 2, 1. Now. Okay, so we go up to about 260 and then back down to 180, then up to 240, and then it sits at 190. All right, so we have 192 milliamp draw on my power supply for this Switch. I'm looking at here and I can't really find anything that is dead on 190. However, I've got the bad fuel gauge which says 100 to 150, but it says here drop to around 120 milliamps in stay, so I don't think it's that. Again, around about 100 milliamps for the Max IC 77621, but that's a boot straight away to 100 milliamps, which is not what I'm getting. What I'm getting seems to be around this. Unfortunately, a bad eMMC. If your power draw goes to around 180 to 200, but the device never then enters the second stage boot, it is usually a bad eMMC. You can check the eMMC, but you need an oscilloscope, which is what I don't have. And then you can see here we can do a little bit more investigating on it, but again, way beyond my knowledge. It does say at the bottom as well, so no eMMC. If you remove the eMMC completely, the system will still boot to the same stage, first stage boot, but there will be no activity at all. So let's just run through that scenario. I have removed the eMMC from the Nintendo Switch. Give it power in 3, 2, 1. Get my bearings right. There we go. What happens? 230. Look at that. It literally hangs at the exact same almost as what it does with the eMMC. You see that? So 233 milliamps. And again, I've plugged in the eMMC just so we can confirm power now. So up to 300, 196. And then, yeah, 239, 240. That looks like to me it's trying to read the eMMC and going, nah, it's not happening. Do you know what I mean? That's what it seems to be anyway. And then it goes down to 200 and then slowly climbs up. I think it's the eMMC. And trust me when I say that I've had to make a bodge setup for all of this. I mean, I've got a black wire that's representing positive for some reason, you know? But hopefully this should help me diagnose a little bit better in the future if I'm unaware exactly as to what it could be. For all the information you just saw on the Retro 6 Wiki, I'll leave a link down below in the description if you're interested. Therefore, I'm going to call it quits on this specific Nintendo Switch. I'm going to sell it as faulty, with the fault being that it is the eMMC. And hopefully I'll be able to recuperate some sort of money. Maybe if I can get £30 for it, it's only then a £20 loss plus the eBay fees. With that being said, should we move on to our third and final item for today's video? You guessed it, I paid £50 for another faulty Nintendo Switch. I'm hoping potentially we get a little bit of an easier issue than what we've just previously had. Oh, and it's got another case of the oots. It doesn't have no power. I'm going to have to obviously clean that stuff off the back. We don't unfortunately have a game. Let's check the charging port. How are we looking? Good. Again, maybe a little bit too good to be true. I'm not going to comment on the opening side of things, but again, the charging port looks okay, which means taking our ammeter and giving this a little test. Here we go. What do we get? 0.21, 0.31 off, doing some funky stuff. Is it just going to keep cycling that? 0.31. Okay, not doing anything now. It did just flicker off a second ago, but the port seems to be okay. I don't think the device necessarily liked that. 0.31, interesting. Let's take it apart and see if I can notice anything strange. Again, straight off the bat, what I'm going to tell you, somebody's been in this device. And again, I'll tell you why. This one is a Nintendo Switch chassis screw, which is not magnetic. This one is a Nintendo Switch board screw, which goes in the board, which is indeed magnetic. We've been bamboozled. My hopes now for this one are very low. I'm going to try and keep positive and end this one on a high. And it looks like on this one, our water indicator sticker has been removed. It's gone, disappeared. So what am I thinking in my head? I'm thinking the worst here. I think this might be water damaged or something. Disconnect the battery. Quick look under the scope before we actually take the board out of the chassis itself. M92 looks pretty factory if you ask me. And yeah, somebody's definitely been inside here, haven't they? That coil, BQ, looking a little bit worse for wear. I don't know if that's flux, potentially, or it could be signs of liquid damage. Can you see all of this? Not sure. This has been moved. Is that a factory port? Doesn't look like it. Okay, that actually gives me a little bit of hope, because potentially, is this soldered? Ah, okay. So that might be ground though. That one's not ground, that's for sure. Okay, so we have a loose pin here, which, like I said, I think is ground, and this one doesn't seem to be soldered correctly. All right, okay. I'm now all of a sudden looking a little bit more hopeful with this. Just giving a brief, quick look around the device, see if there's anything that I should really notice. Okay, let me get the rest of it out of the chassis, see what's going on. Don't think I noticed this when I was just skimming over the board just then. You might have, but can you see that the flap has gone from this, which is our left-hand Joy-Con rail ribbon cable. Well, it's the actual FBC connector, so that will need to be replaced, which is a little bit of a tough one. We have to go underneath the board, but that's okay nonetheless. Should be able to do it. Board's out of the chassis now. First off, I'm just going to check the FPC ribbon connector for the screen display, just in case. Yeah, see, look, see here we got this silver pin just here. That might be causing an issue with the actual display itself. I'm going to try and put it up as much as I can, but that could, even though it doesn't look horrendous, could be causing an issue with why we're not getting maybe a charging symbol on the screen. Same over here. You see it's slightly out of place, this pin, just there, and the bottom one as well. So those little details right there could be causing our issue for no display. So it might be that this actually does work to a certain extent, but nonetheless, that port definitely needs replacing. Check the back of this port. They've done a really good job, other than the fact that it's not fully connected. Maybe if they look to replace P13 USB, because again, there's a lot of flux around here. Doing a quick visual inspection because somebody's worked on it. It's very important to do the visual inspection just to make sure. Again, lots of flux here. Was the backlight touched? No, the backlight seems to be okay. And the fuel gauge, that seems to be untouched as well. Again, just more flux down here. All dry flux. Got the multimeter hit in continuity mode. I just want to check and make sure that we don't have a... Oh, okay, we do have a short. Oh, okay. All right, I see where this is going. Okay, so 3 ohms there. What do we get here? 4 ohms. So dead short to ground. Measure on this cap. Yeah, okay. And then if we turn it over, we are going to have a short on this cap right here, because this is linked to the other cap. And then let me just check around M92T36, see if we've got any shorts here that could be causing that issue. How's our CPU? Oh, no, no, no. Oh, that's game over. This is our CPU cap, and if this has a short, it's GG. And this is showing a short of 7-8 ohms. Wow. Now, just for reference, I could take off this P13, I could take off this cap, I could take off this cap, I could take off M92, and it's not going to make a difference. And you know what? I'm going to show you that. I'm not even going to bother measuring these components one at a time after I've removed them. I'm just going to take all of them off that I've just said, and then we're going to measure, and I'm going to show you exactly that this is a dead CPU. Which, by the way, is exactly what this person's done. They have quite simply taken all of the components off and just probably put them back on, because that's why we've got all of this flux here. All of the stuff that I said has been removed. Do we still have our short? Yeah, would you look at that? Still got our short. This one is game over. And funny fact, I now need to put this back in order to sell it. There we go. Everything put back as normal. Well, as I said, maybe we have been a little bit bamboozled. It really sucks because at the start of the episode, we looked so promising. We had the Switch OLED that was just a simple shell swap. And then the last two that we worked on have been worked on previously, I'm assuming. So it kind of sucks a little bit. But that is the nature of profit or loss when it comes to eBay. Let's head on over to Sally's spectacular spreadsheet to see if we still made a profit or not. So cost-wise today for our 3 consoles was £150. Parts, I spent nothing on that OLED. It was parts that I'd already written off in a previous profit or loss episode. That's the beauty sometimes of just buying a device. It pays off later on. Sale price, I'm going to get £30 for each of the Nintendo Switches that I failed to fix. That gives us 60. And I think I'm going to be able to get 140 for the Switch OLED. Looking at the most recent prices, that is definitely the low side of things just for the tablet only. So I'm going to say £200, 140 plus a 60. Surprisingly, actually, still nets us a profit today of £32 on the dot. Go down to our total spreadsheet, enter 32 right there, and we are in the final sprint. We're just needing £88.92 to call it there for season 1. If I had fixed both of those switches today, I think we probably would have hit our target. The end is near, but I've said that before, and then it's just tanked the opposite way. Hopefully, that's not going to happen in the next couple of episodes. Who knows? Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I'll leave a playlist with the first episode of this series just up here. Have a great rest of your day, week, weekend, whatever it is for you, and I shall see you, as always, in the next one. Peace.